This Rev3 Games preview is brought to you by Netflix.
I'm happy to be joined by Ananda Gupta, lead designer on XCOM Enemy Within, and over here who will be playing the game, Brian Roundy of 2K Games. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
So what are we going to get a look at today? How do we actually just jump in and look at this demo?
Absolutely. So at PAX and at Gamescom earlier, we have talked a lot about the tactical elements of XCOM Enemy Within. We talked about mechs and gene mods and the new aliens that we've brought in. And so this time we're talking about the strategy layer. And of course, you know, we've said before that we would not add only tactical elements in an expansion pack. And so here we're going to pass a little time and we'll see what the new strategic threat is.
Commander, our intelligence sources indicate that a previously unknown organization is attempting to undermine XCOM field operations. We believe this group harbors some misguided sympathies for the invaders and is intent on acquiring alien technology and artifacts critical to your efforts. Early reports indicate this organization calls itself Exalt. We trust you will isolate the source of this new threat and eliminate it.
Commander, the Council has provided some additional resources to help us deal with these traitors. We can begin scanning for additional Exalt cell locations and launch covert operations to disrupt their activity via the Situation Room.
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, there's also human enemies.
That's right. So Exalt is a paramilitary secret society. And their
it's like
objective,
Spectre or Cobra or who knows?
Yes, their objective. They see XCOM standing in their way in many ways, right? Well, in the two biggest ways. One is, you know, XCOM is standing in the way of the aliens' genetic perfection project, and the other way is that XCOM is using the artifacts and technology of the aliens to fight the aliens, whereas Exalt sees the best use of those artifacts and technologies as their means to power, to rule what is left behind. This is the new layer in the XCOM Situation Room. This is the Covert Ops Layer. And as you can see, this activates once Exalt begins. And as you can see, there's an Exalt cell in the UK. But you also have the opportunity to fire off an intel scan for some money. So we can go ahead and do that. And that reveals a second cell in Egypt.
How, I mean, let's say I have not uncovered an Exalt operation. How will that sort of emerge and affect my game? Is that something like there's a mission I have to do that I wasn't planning on? Or?
Hidden Exalt cells will act against XCOM. In this case, what we saw before we went into the layer was a propaganda operation. That's where Exalt will agitate to increase panic in a target country. But they can also sabotage and take away your money, your credits. They can do research hack, which will undo your research progress. And so they have, if you let the hidden cells fester away, they will launch these plots against you. And then if you continue to ignore them while they're exposed, they will hide again, relocate, and do it again. This is all until you confront them. But since we have a couple of exposed cells, we can pick one to go after. Looks like the UK has a higher panic, so we can go after them. And now we have to pick one of our soldiers as the Covert Operative.
And it's just one soldier that you're using?
For initially, but eventually you will help out that soldier with a squad.
Covert Operative deployed.
So now he is on site, and you can see now he's got an operation icon on the UK. And now we can back out to the main view and go to mission control and pass some time because covert operations take time. All right, so the covert operation is ready. The covert operative is ready for extraction. What has happened is the covert operative has gathered enough intel to break this cell, but he needs to get out. And this mission is where he'll do that. But you're going to send a squad in to help. And this is one of our new mission types. Covert data recovery is a little bit like King of the Hill, a little bit of a capture point gameplay, where you have to protect some intel assets before Exalt can come in and hack them.
So when you send in your one team member to do the covert op, is there something random that happens, or does that all play out? What sort of is happening behind the scenes? Does it play out the same way every time?
It leads to a different mission here every time. We experimented a little bit during design with randomness about how long it would take or whether the covert operative might fail, but ultimately we decided that things like soldiers failing is best handled in tactical, where the player has control over.
Where's the player's fault?
Exactly.
We've picked up another Exalt cell operating out of the UK. Strike One will need to ensure our operative has an opportunity to finish securing the intel.
So we've got to protect the encoder from capture. If Exalt hacks the encoder, they'll find where the transmitter is. The transmitter is the more important of the two, because if Exalt captures that, then they will win the mission.
And obviously, this is relatively unique for this game, because it sounds like you're going to keep your squad more or less in one place.
Oh no, because so we're going to scroll up to the sort of, there's the camera kind of shows us where the encoder is.
Oh.
And the encoder is a little bit far away, and the transmitter is here with our Covert Operative. And the transmitter is currently secure because the encoder is still fine. So if we can protect the encoder, we're golden. But if we fail to protect the encoder, we got to fall back here to the transmitter.
And we also, looks like we have to be protecting our Covert Operative.
The Covert Operative doesn't have to survive in this mission type, but it certainly helps. And the reason for that is, you'll notice on one of the objectives, the Covert Operative can disrupt Exalt comm arrays. There are a couple of comm arrays that Exalt has in this area to support their own operations. And if the Covert Operative can hack one, then that will disrupt Exalt's communications and limit their offense.
And as you said, the Covert Op is a member of our team. We have full control over him like everyone else in the squad?
That's right. That's right. So, but you have to be careful with the Covert Operative. He doesn't have any armor on.
That's right. He's just wearing kind of a cool guy, jacket.
He's wearing his, he's wearing
handgun.
the sort of street clothes. Although something we were very pleased with is the way the jacket echoes the Kevlar armor. I thought that was fun, and I think the artists did a fantastic job coming up with a good Covert Operative look.
So we obviously haven't seen Exalt yet, but because they are human, I assume they're going to play different. Their strategy is going to be different.
Exalt is definitely something that we had a lot of fun with in terms of squad tactics. Exalt's squad tactics are more advanced than anything that we did in XCOM Enemy Unknown. And that's partly because Exalt's squads have a composition that echoes XCOM's. They have, with Exalt, we introduced fully 8 new enemies. 4 of them are the more basic forms, and the other 4 the more advanced forms. In this mission, we'll be facing Exalt regulars, but later in the game, you'll face Exalt elites, who are even more dangerous. Exalt regulars come in the category of operative, which is like an assault, but a little more utility player, less about shotguns. Exalt shotguns turn out not to be much fun playing. And the Exalt sniper, the Exalt heavy, and the Exalt medic.
So with that in mind, are they also, because they're so in love with the aliens, are they able to do the experiments on themselves that obviously your squad will be able to with the mechs and with the
their obsession with the aliens' project of genetic perfection leads them to explore the genetic modification path in the same way that you do. Although once the Exalts get to the elite level, once the Exalt troops get to the elite level, they go even further than even Dr. Valen would recommend.
Oh, really?
Yes, which is saying something.
So, when you square off against Exalt, are you just squaring off against Exalt, or is there affinity with the aliens? Is there a level of cooperation?
Exalt and the aliens, Exalt tries to steer clear of the aliens. Exalt is not, they want to steer clear of the aliens because they want not to interfere, and they want to secure the alien tech. But, now here we go.
Here we go.
So we now know from the fact that that's turned red that Exalt is in that capture area. So we're going to have to move pretty quickly to try to secure it, to clear those forces out of the capture area, or at least to move one of our own guys in so that it's blocked. But there's a lot of dangerous stuff around here, a lot of explosive cars.
You're right.
So we're going to have to be very careful. That's what's making it.
And we have a lot of Exalt.
So here we have a mixed Exalt squad. We have a heavy and a sniper and an operative, it looks like. And more over there too.
Can't help but notice that they're wearing slacks. So are they armored, or?
They're armored in the same sense that your nanofiber vests and so forth are.
Got it.
They definitely have the staying power that you would expect from combat troops, but the Exalt visual is definitely something we went through a lot of interesting discussion on. We thought about sort of a very classic dark commando lots of webbing look. And we decided, A, that's kind of been done.
Yes.
And B, it didn't fit. You know, these guys. Oh my goodness.
That's a lot of enemies in this map. I believe Mr. Roundy is going to be challenged here.
Mr. Roundy has quite a task ahead of him here. Not a lot of great shots.
I was about to say, none of those percentages are looking too appealing.
With the visual on Exalt, we wanted them to look like guys who momentarily, who once the call comes, once the moment has come, they can immediately be ready, right? They and so they could blend in, and their faces are concealed. Mm-hmm. Their suits are sort of bland but normal, sufficiently normal. That was a good shot.
That was a very good shot.
And okay, so here he can hack the comm relay if he wants, and this will Exalt will be unable to attack for a full turn.
Oh wow, okay.
So that's a good thing to do with so many Exalts on the map right now. Exalt operatives on the map. But nonetheless, he's already given up one turn, and so the encoder timer is down to 2. But they're all.
I mean, it seems at least with this setup right now that the likelihood that you're able to preserve the encoder is looking very, very unlikely.
In this case, Brian's squad is a little bit underranked for this mission. He's got the right gear, and he's got he's got some early gene mods.
He's got
and
a lot
forth.
of heart.
And he's got a lot of heart, but the ranking is not. Notice that medic threw a smoke grenade to protect his own teammates. Exalt medics are very much like your own supports and will heal and use smoke defensively in ways that aliens don't.
I was about to say, you really seem to have been focused on trying to give a play experience that is quite different from when you're playing against aliens.
Yes, playing against Exalt is indeed quite different from playing against the aliens. And for a variety of reasons. It's not just that it's not just that the squad tactics. It's also the nature of the squad tactics. The fact that Exalt will definitely play more defensively sometimes. That was a fine play by Mr. Roundy. Fine use of the rocket.
And the cars.
And the cars. Now, unfortunately here, Exalt is smart enough to use smoke on the capture area to make it harder to take out guys in it, which is, of course, what they're going for. And
so how long in the process, or maybe back when you were working on the original XCOM, did you guys say, like, hey, it would be cool to have also human enemies? I mean, was this the impetus for Enemy Within?
It definitely fit with the Enemy Within. It definitely fit with the Enemy Within theme really well, obviously. We've talked a lot about how Enemy Within worked so well as a theme because it had so many great pull-ins. And with genetics and cybernetics, we talked about how that means the enemy is within the very bodies of your soldiers.
Right.
And here we have a literal enemy within humanity, right? A group whose goal is very different from
Never realized how deep the metaphor would go when you named this game.
But we never seriously considered having human enemies in Enemy Unknown, and that was for two reasons. One, we were really when it came to the enemy list in Enemy Unknown, we were really focused on doing justice to the 1993 game. We really wanted to make sure that we were doing the right stuff for the 1993 game. On the other hand, and the other thing is that XCOM Enemy Unknown, I think, would have suffered from a lack of clarity of purpose had it introduced the idea of enemy humans. But here, in an expansion pack, this is one of the great things about expansion packs. You can really go nuts with some of the ideas that you play with.
It's occurred to me. Are we seeing anything from the squad here that is showing the mech or the
I intentionally
genetic?
didn't put mechs in this one just because I wanted Exalt to shine here a little. And of course, you know where everyone's eyes will go if there's a mech in the scene.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
But his soldiers do have sort of initial genetic modifications. Oh, that's not good.
That's not a good sign.
And we have a panic.
So for some of those out there that may not be as familiar with, boy, that could have been worse.
Yeah, they are just standard frag grenades for this Exalt, but his cover went down.
That's the worst that it could have been.
But of course, Exalt also is smart enough, just like you are, to use grenades to destroy your cover. And to heal themselves.
This is not looking good at all. So for some of those out there, let's not go into the details of the mechs and the genetic upgrade, but what are some of the more basic and fundamental things that you wanted to address with this one that you kind of discovered either in developing Enemy Unknown, be it just certain quirks about the gameplay?
With Exalt at the strategy level, one of the things we really wanted to do, oh yes, Covert Operatives panicked. One of the things we really wanted to do with the strategy layer was to give the player more control over the tempo of the game. The aliens are this implacable force that you can't do as much about in terms of, I mean, you can take out their base, you can take their tech, you can use it against them, and that's all very well and fits nicely with what we were trying to do. But with Exalt, it made a lot of sense to give the player a way to dictate when the missions happen, right? It is up to the player to determine, okay, I'm going to go after Exalt cells. The player can opt never to go on a Covert Ops mission if they don't want to.
But it sounds like you will make life very, very difficult for yourself.
Yes, that may not be the best way to do it, but there's nothing technically stopping you. I actually considered putting in an achievement, which was beat the game while ignoring Exalt. And I decided I didn't want to put in an achievement that says, hey, we're putting this awesome new feature, here's an achievement for not playing with it.
Yes, I was about to say, that sounds a little counterintuitive.
Yes, it's a little silly. So that one didn't go in. But yeah, no, certainly, I think the achievement that's the hardest in the new game is, in Enemy Within, is beat the campaign on Classic or higher without buying a squad size upgrade. It's called an Army of 4.
I would like to see, I know someone out there will do it.
I'm certain someone will. And I respect that person. I proactively respect that person tremendously. So what you saw there is interesting. The encoder has now been captured. So Exalt now has the location of the transmitter, and they are moving on it. And in some ways, Exalt is very single-minded. They will.
I was about to say they put themselves into some bad situations.
They are willing to do that if it gets them closer to their objective.
I mean, are they almost suicidal, or they're so fanatical that their individual well-being is overridden by just kind of the
It's
goal?
not that at all. They're smart. They know that they outnumber you, and they know that they have an objective. And you'll notice that only a couple of them did that. And that's because the rest of them are still playing it cagey.
I mean, are we to expect that when we are up against Exalt that the imbalance in numbers is that grand? I mean, that's a lot of enemies.
Yeah, Exalt is definitely when they are trying to preserve their cells, they go all out. Now, will you always? Exalt will definitely. Oh, here's a good shot.
That was good.
Put him down. And here we have another good shot. That was very dramatic. You see his arm kind of fall behind the door. That's great. So, yes, one of the challenges that Exalt poses is the numbers they come in. However, they don't advance in tech nearly as fast as you do. So all these Exalt troops have only conventional weapons, and they won't get anything better until fairly late in the game.
And you're saying that at this point in a normal playthrough, your squad could have already started, really getting some of the higher level mech or the biological.
Oh yeah. In addition to things like carapace armor potentially, and lasers. This is an interesting situation because Brian's squad, like I said, is a little underranked for this, but has the right gear for when Exalt would appear in a classic playthrough. Exalt appears a little earlier in a classic or an impossible playthrough than they do in normal.
I think there may be a little bit of confusion out there. What is Enemy Within? So it is a kind of an expansion, but it really is the game you've already played with a lot more content inside of it.
Yes. Enemy Within it. So it's a full-featured Firaxis style expansion pack for XCOM Enemy Unknown, and we are adding so many different elements to the tactical game. You're obviously looking at this, which is just one of the 2 new mission types that we've added. The other one is called Covert Extraction, where your operative has to hack some arrays, some data relays, and get out. Oh,
That was not
friendly. Not a friendly thing for him to do. Throw that
And
grenade.
how many people in the squad are left?
It looks like he's got 4 left.
Well, that's not bad.
I think he's
3 in my.
3 plus Covert Operative.
Yep.
So 3 plus the Covert Operative. Oh dear.
In terms of like some of
And
the new
that's just gonna
maps,
get
obviously we haven't seen
Overwatch.
this before. Yikes.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
That is.
Oh, there we go.
That was a lucky.
There's the miss.
That was really lucky.
Well, notice this sniper is the one who was poisoned up on the roof, so his aim is really kind of minimal. So it would have been that one. Unfortunately,
not
was not
good.
poisoned.
Oh boy, that's never the sound I want to hear when I'm playing this game.
No. And there's the Whoa. Sniper reaction shot. Oh, another solid hit for Exalt. So.
And I was about to ask you. So obviously this is a new map. Have you sort of approached the new maps differently from stuff you learned in Enemy Unknown?
Oh yeah. Our level design team, I think, leveled up, as it were, quite a lot. They this is one of the brand new maps. This is the tire shop map. The covert operations take place on a variety of maps. Some of them take place on completely new maps. Some of them take place on Enemy Unknown maps that have maybe been changed up a little. We have a total of 20 covert ops, 10 of each type. This one and then the other one I was mentioning, and so in Enemy Within, we've added a ton of new stuff for XCOM to do with the mechs and the gene mods. We've added new aliens, which we talked about earlier, and then Exalt is one of the here we have adaptive bone marrow, getting her back a little health.
So okay, we do have some of the genetic modifications are already inside.
So she has adaptive bone marrow, which is hopefully she'll live to tell the tale. There we go. Okay, so things. This is definitely a situation where, Exalt snipers are very dangerous. One of the things about Exalt that I wanted to make sure we accomplished, is that you never know which one to shoot. The snipers, you really want to shoot for all the reasons you would want to shoot snipers.
Yeah, you just don't want them out there.
But
And there seem to be
the
quite a few
medics-
of them as well.
Yes, Brian has lucked into a very sniper-heavy load here. But I mean, one that has a lot of heavies has its own problems, because
Right.
they all have rocket launchers. The sun is setting on this one.
Yeah. Do you have one more alive now?
And now he is and to top it off,
Well, they're also surrounding the transmitter.
yes,
They are.
they're swarming the transmitter. So it looks like the transmitter is going to fall.
This is not a good showing on my part.
Well,
What advice would you give to a player that isn't Brian in a situation like this? I mean,
so the thing about Exalt that you have about Covert Ops really is Covert Ops, because they're a different mission type. You have to play them like they are a different mission type. You have to be willing to let Exalt come to you more. In a situation like this, where a player who goes in from the strategy layer knowing that maybe his higher ranking soldiers are in the hospital, and so he's going with a couple less highly ranked soldiers than he might normally go in. That player might say, I'm not even going to try to save the encoder. I'm going
Right, just work for the transmitter.
I'm going to form up on the transmitter. I'm going to...
because I mean, that was clearly where the danger was, is that you moved so many of your team
Splitting up the
on
team.
one end of the map, and then we just saw what Exalt did with the flanking, where suddenly
Yes.
you were pinned in from every side.
Yes, and so being able to... Oh, okay, he has 2 left. It's not over yet. It's slightly over. Oh, it's very over.
Oh,
Okay.
Hanging on by a thread.
But yes, one of the reasons we wanted to add some like new mission types as opposed to simply Exalt in our older mission types was to give players a new mission to figure out, as well as to add challenge. I don't deny.
And that is on display here.
Yes, I don't deny that Enemy Within's Covert Ops can be quite challenging. And this Covert Data Recovery, I think, is more challenging.
Oh, wow.
Because more challenging than Covert Extraction. Covert Data Recovery, because of the dual obligation you have of keeping your squad alive and protecting these assets, it can really pose a lot of problems. All right, looks like you might be 2 moves from safety, even if not success.
So assuming that he makes it to safety, obviously you've lost your squad. Not good.
Yeah, it took a lot of
But
casualties.
what other penalty are you going to have to assume by not really succeeding with the objective of the map?
So there are 2 things. The first is that he won't get any Exalt intel. Exalt intel is one of the things that you'll get when you successfully complete a Covert Op, and that is a clue that is towards the location of the Exalt headquarters.
Ah, so there's kind of an end game with this storyline.
The Exalt headquarters. Yeah, you can go ahead and abort. A noble effort.
A noble. Thank you very much, Brian. But I see that there is kind of an end game that you are working to within the larger scope of
this is one of the
Enemy Within.
yes. As you recover into Exalt intel, you will gain clues as to the location of their headquarters. Once you get 3 clues, you can make an accusation, if you will. You can make a raid. You can initiate a raid against the suspected location. If you're wrong, the target council country will leave the council immediately. If you're right, then you get to go on the mission.
Now, is there anything more you can do to get more right?
Yes, you can do as many Covert Ops as you want. You can narrow it all the way down to 1 country.
So you
if
really
want.
you.
And indeed, I suspect Iron Man players will want to do that.
It's like a geopolitical game of Clue.
A little bit, yeah. Where you are trying to the clues take the form of things like the Exalt base is not in an English-speaking country. The Exalt base is not in Africa, and so forth. And as you gain these clues, countries will be struck from the possible list until you get down. Depending on how risk-preferring you are, you will get down to maybe 3 countries. And you're like, all right, well, I'm going to take the 1 in 3 chance, or 1 in 2. And but if you're wrong again, the council country
And we know though,
will
like
leave.
those missions to get those clues can be a challenge in and of themselves.
Yes, they can, and so and of course the other thing about failing a covert operation is that the cell that you were attempting to destroy is not destroyed. That cell in the UK is now going to go into hiding, and will relocate somewhere else in the world. And so failing at these covert operations can mean, or failing or ignoring these covert operations can mean a buildup of Exalt cells in the world. And that means more frequent anti-XCOM operations by them, and generally a potential loss of tempo.
Yes.
That you may struggle to regain.
Well, good. You've now made the case that a very compulsive game for me is only going to get more so. When does Enemy Within come out?
Enemy Within is out on November 12th, 2013 on PC, Mac, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3.
All right. Well, Ananda, thank you so much for coming by and showing this off. I cannot wait to play it.
Thanks for having me.
Let's take a moment and thank our sponsor, Netflix. Netflix lets you stream your favorite movies and shows straight to your home without having to deal with one of those pesky cable companies. As long as you have an internet connection and a Netflix-enabled device, you're good to go. You can support Rev3 games and sign up for a free trial membership by heading to netflix.com/Rev3games.